People say you don't realize the most important moments of your life while they're happening. I disagree. There's always a moment, the exact second when your world shifts, when something cracks deep inside you. You might not understand it at first, but you feel it. For me, that moment came too late. I thought I had a good marriage, a strong one. I was wrong. I can still picture the way Olivia smiled at me the night we got engaged. It was late summer in New York, and we were standing on the rooftop of a little boutique hotel in Brooklyn, looking out over the city lights. I had planned everything, the perfect dinner, a bottle of champagne, and the ring burning a hole in my pocket. I was nervous as hell. My palms were sweaty, and my heart was hammering against my ribs. But when I dropped to one knee, all my nerves disappeared. Olivia gasped, covering her mouth with both hands. "Yes," she whispered, her eyes full of tears. Then she laughed. "Of course, yes." That was nearly 8 years ago. Now, I was sitting alone in a Manhattan restaurant, a barely touched glass of scotch in front of me, staring at the empty chair across the table. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Olivia and I had always been good together. We met in college. She was studying corporate law, and I was knee-deep in finance. She was brilliant, driven, and fearless. I was the calm one, the steady presence that kept things balanced. After graduation, everything fell into place. Marriage, promotions, a sleek high-rise apartment in the city. Our careers took off, and we built a life that people envied. We worked hard, traveled when we could, and still found time for our little traditions. Lazy Sundays with takeout, late-night walks through Central Park, spontaneous weekend trips to the Hamptons. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. At least, that's what I believed. Over the last couple of years, something had shifted. At first, I told myself it was just life, long hours, stress, the weight of responsibility. Olivia had always been ambitious, but now she was constantly buried in work. Late nights at the office turned into weekends away at conferences. Our plans started getting pushed aside. I never questioned it. So when she called earlier today, her voice rushed, telling me she couldn't make dinner because of an emergency client meeting, I didn't argue. I had planned this night for us, reserved a table at her favorite restaurant, picked out a wine I knew she loved. But I understood. Work was important. It always had been. I sat there for over an hour, picking at my meal, watching the city move outside the window. The restaurant was buzzing, couples leaning into each other, laughter echoing through the dimly lit space. It was strange how crowded places could still feel lonely. I checked my phone. No messages. Maybe I was overthinking things. Every marriage has phases, right? People get busy. The spark fades a little, but that doesn't mean it's gone. We just had to put in the effort. I just had to try harder. With a sigh, I flagged down the waiter and asked for the check. On the way home, I'd pick up something for Olivia, maybe those macarons from the French bakery she liked. A small reminder that I was still here, because in my mind, we were still strong, and I had no reason to think otherwise. I woke up to the sound of Olivia moving around the bedroom, already halfway dressed for the day. For a few seconds, I just lay there, blinking at the ceiling, my mind still foggy from sleep. The bed felt cold. She must have gotten up early again. Lately, she was always the first one out the door, barely stopping long enough for a quick goodbye. "Morning," I muttered, stretching as I sat up. She glanced over her shoulder while fastening an earring. "Morning. I didn't wake you, did I?" "Nah," I yawned. "You're up early." "Big day," she said, smoothing down her blouse. "Got a client meeting first thing, and I still need to review some documents before heading out." I ran a hand through my hair, watching her move around the room. "How about dinner tonight?" "Just us." She paused by the dresser, adjusting her bracelet. "I'll try, but I might be stuck at the office late." I smiled. "I'll take that as a maybe." She returned the smile, small, a little distracted. Then she leaned down, kissed my cheek, and grabbed her bag. "Don't wait up, okay?" The door closed behind her before I could say anything else. A few hours later, I met up with Daniel, one of my closest friends from work. We grabbed lunch at a little cafe near our office, the kind of place with overpriced sandwiches and tiny espressos. "So," Daniel said, stirring his coffee, "how's married life treating you?" I smirked. "You make it sound like I just got hitched." "Hey, 8 years is still impressive," he said, taking a sip. "Everything good?" "Yeah," I said automatically. Then, after a pause, she's been busy with work, but that's nothing new. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Still canceling plans on you? I shrugged. It happens. It's not a big deal. He didn't look convinced. Just make sure you're not the only one making time for the relationship. I rolled my eyes. You sound like a therapist. Daniel grinned. Just looking out for you, man. That evening, I decided to surprise Olivia. If she was too busy to make it to dinner, I'd bring dinner to her. I picked up sushi from her favorite spot and figured I'd swing by her office. But just as I was about to leave, my phone buzzed. Olivia's name lit up on the screen. Olivia. Hey, don't wait up. Gonna be at the office super late. I hesitated, then typed back. Me? No worries. Hope it's not too stressful. Love you. It took her almost 10 minutes to respond. Olivia, love you too. I exhaled, staring at the screen. Then, shaking it off, I put the food in the fridge. Maybe tomorrow would be different. I hadn't seen much of Olivia over the past few days. It felt like we were living in the same apartment, but moving in completely different directions. If she wasn't working late, she was too drained to do anything by the time she got home. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Stress, career pressure. It happens. That's why, when I sat across from Ryan at lunch, I wasn't surprised when he brought it up. She blew off dinner again, he asked, stirring his iced tea with his straw. She had a client meeting, I said, trying not to sound defensive. Ryan gave me a skeptical look. Dude, I get it, careers are important, but she's been canceling on you a lot lately. I shrugged. It's just a rough patch. It'll pass. He exhaled, leaning back in his chair. Just make sure you're not the only one putting in the effort. I nodded, but the words stuck with me. That evening, I decided to surprise Olivia at work. I picked up coffee from her favorite cafe. Just a small gesture, something to brighten her night. By the time I got to her office building, the sun was already setting, casting long shadows on the sidewalk. The receptionist barely glanced at me as I headed toward Olivia's office. But when I reached the doorway, I slowed. She wasn't alone. A man sat across from her, leaning slightly forward, his expression relaxed, like they'd been talking about something amusing. I hesitated. Olivia looked up and immediately noticed me. For a split second, something flickered across her face. Surprise? Unease? But then she smiled, standing up quickly. Ethan, what are you doing here? Thought I'd bring you coffee, I said, lifting the cup slightly. She smoothed her blouse, glancing at the man. Oh, this is Roman Carter. We work together. Roman stood, offering his hand. Nice to meet you. I shook it. Firm grip. Seemed friendly. Normal. Thanks for the coffee, Olivia said quickly. I'll see you at home? I nodded, forcing a smile. As I left, I couldn't shake the feeling that something fell off. Later that night, I tried again. Let's get out of the city this weekend, I said as Olivia kicked off her heels. Just the two of us. She sighed, rubbing her temples. Ethan, I don't have time for that. It's just 2 days. She shook her head. You don't get it. Work is insane right now. I know, but She cut me off. Can we not do this? I'm exhausted. I nodded slowly. Okay. She disappeared into the bathroom, closing the door behind her. And for the first time, something about it felt wrong. I wasn't looking for answers, but they found me anyway. It started with something small, a charge on our credit card statement. I was paying bills when I noticed it, an expensive dinner at an upscale Manhattan restaurant, the kind of place Olivia and I used to go for anniversaries. The problem? I hadn't been there in months. I checked the date. 3 nights ago. The same night, she told me she was working late. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a business dinner. Maybe she had picked up the tab for a client. But my gut told me otherwise. And for the first time, I didn't ignore it. I spent the next day trying to push it out of my head, convincing myself that I was overthinking things. Olivia was ambitious, dedicated to her work. It wasn't unusual for her to have late nights or business meetings. But something about this didn't sit right. By the time I met Ryan for drinks that evening, my thoughts were running in circles. That's not normal, man, Ryan said, shaking his head. We were sitting in a booth at a quiet bar, a couple of untouched drinks in front of us. It could be nothing, I muttered, but I didn't believe it. Ryan exhaled. Or it could be something. Look, I know you don't want to think about it, but when was the last time she actually made time for you? I stared at my drink, the ice melting into the amber liquid. He wasn't wrong. The distance between us had been growing for months. At first, I thought it was stress. Then, I thought it was just the natural phase of marriage, routines taking over, passion fading. But maybe I had been lying to myself. Just talk to her, Ryan said, more gently this time. Or, if you really want to know, check. I didn't want to check. I didn't want to be that guy who snooped through his wife's things, who doubted the person he had trusted for years. But something inside me, the same feeling I had been ignoring for too long, told me I already knew the truth. I just hadn't faced it yet. That night, Olivia texted me, saying she'd be working late again. I stared at the message for a long time before finally doing something I had never done before. I opened our shared location app. We had kept it on for convenience, never really thinking about it. I had never felt the need to check before. Her pin wasn't at the office. It was across the city, near a hotel. A cold, sinking feeling settled in my stomach. My first instinct was to reason with myself. Maybe she had a client meeting there. Maybe she was meeting a friend. But the feeling in my chest told me otherwise. My body already knew the truth before my brain was willing to accept it. I grabbed my coat and left. I don't remember the drive. Just the way my hands gripped the steering wheel, how my pulse pounded in my ears. I barely even registered the streets passing by, the glowing lights of Manhattan blurring together. My mind kept looping through excuses, explanations, anything that might make this something other than what it seemed. But then I saw her, Olivia, and him. They were standing near the hotel entrance, close enough that there was no mistaking their familiarity. He leaned in slightly, whispering something, and she laughed, the kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in months. Then he touched her waist. She didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer, and then they kissed. The world around me faded. The sounds of the street, the distant honking of cars, the chatter of passers-by. It all became background noise to the roaring in my head. I had my answer. The truth I hadn't wanted to see was now standing right in front of me, impossible to ignore. But instead of confronting them, instead of storming over and making a scene, I stayed in the car, watching, thinking, because this wasn't just about betrayal. This was about what I was going to do next. I didn't sleep that night. I don't remember driving home. One moment, I was gripping the steering wheel outside that hotel, heart pounding. The image of Olivia in another man's arms burned into my brain. The next, I was sitting in our dark apartment, staring blankly at the wall. I had proof. Cold, undeniable proof. And yet, I didn't storm into that hotel. I didn't call her. I didn't throw accusations at her the second she walked through the door. Instead, I sat in silence, running through every possible scenario in my head. I wasn't thinking about why she did it. I wasn't even thinking about how long it had been going on. I was thinking about what I was going to do next. By the time the sun crept through the blinds, I had my answer. I wasn't going to be the fool in this story. Olivia came home early that morning, looking exhausted. She dropped her purse by the door, stretching her neck like she had just pulled an all-nighter. She sighed. God, I'm so tired. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, already dressed for the day. I forced a casual smile. Long night? She glanced at me, her expression unreadable for a split second before she nodded. Yeah. Client meeting ran later than I expected. A lie. Smooth. Effortless. She walked over and kissed my cheek, and it took every ounce of self-control not to pull away. Sorry I didn't text more, she continued, moving toward the fridge. It was just crazy at the office. Crazy at the office. Right. That's what she was calling it. I sipped my coffee, watching her closely. Every movement. Every word. Before last night, I would have believed her without hesitation. But now, I was seeing her for exactly who she was. And I wasn't going to let this slide. That afternoon, I met up with Ryan again. The second he saw me, his expression shifted. You look like hell, he said, setting his beer down. I exhaled. I know. Ryan leaned in. Talk to me. What happened? I didn't speak right away. Instead, I reached into my pocket, pulled out the credit card statement I had printed that morning, and slid it across the table. Ryan's eyes scanned the charges, his expression darkening. Shit? I nodded. She was there, and she wasn't alone. Ryan set the paper down. What are you going to do? I leaned back, tapping my fingers against the table. I don't know yet. That was a lie. I didn't know. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. That night, I watched Olivia. Not in an obvious way, but in the way a hunter studies his prey. She moved around our apartment like nothing was wrong, texting on her phone, humming softly as she poured herself a glass of wine. I was done being blind. She had no idea that the man she had betrayed wasn't the same one sitting across from her now. And soon enough, she was going to find out exactly what that meant. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is reckless. It makes people do stupid things, confront too soon, say things they can't take back, react instead of plan. And I wasn't going to waste this opportunity by losing my temper. Olivia thought she was in control. She thought she was getting away with it. She had no idea I was about to turn the tables. The next morning, she moved around the apartment like nothing had changed. She kissed my cheek before heading to the kitchen, humming softly as she poured herself a cup of coffee. I watched her carefully. Every move, every expression. She didn't seem guilty, didn't seem nervous. She was either incredibly confident in her lies or had done this for so long that it no longer affected her. I leaned against the counter, keeping my voice casual. How was your night? She didn't even pause. Exhausting. I got home so late I barely remember getting into bed. A perfect lie. I nodded, sipping my coffee. Yeah, you were out cold. She glanced at the clock and sighed. I have to run. Big meeting today. I tilted my head. Which client? There was a hesitation. Just half a second, but I caught it. You wouldn't know them. Just another corporate case. She smiled, grabbing her purse. I'll probably be late again. I smiled back. Of course. And just like that, she was gone. Step one was complete. I had given her a chance to tell the truth. She didn't take it. Now, I had no reason to hold back. That afternoon, I went through her laptop. Olivia had always been careful with her passwords, but I knew her habits. It only took a few tries before I was in. Emails, deleted messages, a second email account. She had booked a dinner reservation under a fake name, a hotel confirmation, a receipt for something she never mentioned. I took photos of everything. Then I tried her phone. The passcode had changed. Smart, but not smart enough. That evening, I followed her. She had told me she was working late, so I left work early, parked a block from her office, and waited. When she finally walked out, she didn't head toward the subway or grab a cab home. She walked 2 blocks, glancing at her phone, then stopped outside a cafe. A minute later, he arrived. Roman. They sat across from each other, leaning in close, talking like they had nothing to hide. At one point, she touched his hand. He smiled. She smiled back. I took a few photos, but not because I needed proof. I already had all the proof I'd ever need. Olivia thought she was playing a game. She had no idea she was about to lose. Olivia had no idea that her world was about to collapse. She kissed me goodbye that morning, smiling like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't spent the night wrapped around another man. Like she wasn't lying to my face every single day. But I wasn't the same man she had been fooling. I wasn't hurt anymore. I wasn't lost. I was focused. She thought she had everything under control. She had no idea I was about to take it all away. I took the day off work. Olivia thought I had an early meeting, which made it the perfect time to start dismantling everything she had built. It didn't take long to find something. She had been careful, but not careful enough. On our shared laptop, I found a document buried deep in a folder labeled Personal, a draft of a separation agreement. My name, her name, a full list of our assets. I sat there, staring at the screen, barely breathing. The date on the file was over 6 months ago. She had been planning this for half a year. This wasn't just an affair. She had been laying the groundwork to get rid of me on her terms, waiting for the right moment, setting things up exactly how she wanted. Maybe she was stalling for a financial advantage, or maybe she was just waiting for Roman to be ready. But whatever her plan was, it didn't matter anymore. Because now, I had my own plan. First, I made sure she couldn't touch my money. We had joint accounts, but I had my own private one. Over the next few hours, I transferred just enough. Not enough to trigger suspicion, but enough to ensure she wouldn't get a cent more than she deserved. Then, I protected my assets. I called my lawyer, not to file for divorce, not yet, but to put legal protections in place. Olivia thought she had time to control how things played out. She had no idea I was already sealing off every possible advantage she thought she had. But I wasn't just going to protect myself. I was going to destroy her and Roman. Finding out more about Roman was easy. A few deep dives into his background, some phone calls, and I had a full picture. He wasn't just some random guy. He was strategic. He worked for a competing investment firm, which meant this wasn't just about an affair. There was more going on here. Maybe she had been feeding him information. Maybe they were planning something bigger. So I planted the first seed of doubt. Using a burner email, I sent Roman a single photo. Him and Olivia at the cafe, leaning in close. No threats. No accusations. Just one message. Are you sure you're the only one? It wouldn't take much to shake him. Guys like Roman, they don't share. They like to believe they're the ones in control. The second they think they're being played, they start to panic. And Olivia? She was about to realize that the man she thought she had fooled was already 10 steps ahead of her. But I wasn't done. That night, when I walked into our apartment, Olivia was curled up on the couch, wine glass in hand, scrolling through her phone. She glanced up at me, smiling like nothing was wrong. "Hey," she said. "How was your day?" I smiled back. Just a normal day. At that very moment, I knew Roman was staring at his phone, reading my message, wondering if she had been lying to him too. And this was just the beginning. Olivia still thought she was in control. She moved through our apartment with the same ease as always, humming softly as she scrolled through her phone, sipping coffee while pretending to listen to me. She kissed my cheek before leaving for work, just like she always had. But her world was already beginning to crack. And I was the one pulling the strings. That morning, as she grabbed her purse, I leaned casually against the counter. "Busy day?" She nodded, slipping on her heels. "Yeah. Meetings, paperwork, the usual." I smiled. "That's good." She kissed me goodbye and walked out the door, completely unaware that the next phase of my plan was already in motion. A few moments later, my phone buzzed. Not from Olivia. From Roman. I had expected it. The first message had done its job, planting the seed of doubt in his mind. But now it was time to water it. I opened my laptop, attached the next photo. Olivia sitting a little too close to one of her male colleagues at a corporate event. Completely innocent, really. But perception is everything. Make someone paranoid enough, and they'll destroy themselves. I typed out a single line. "Are you sure she's not playing both of you?" Then I hit send. That night, I heard it happening. Olivia was in the bedroom, her voice sharp, hushed but urgent. "What the hell are you talking about?" A pause. "Are you seriously accusing me of something right now?" Another pause. Then lower, colder. "You're being ridiculous, Roman." Bingo. I sat on the couch, flipping through my phone like I hadn't just orchestrated the first real fight between them. A few minutes later, she came stomping out of the bedroom, jaw tight, phone clutched in her hand. She froze when she saw me. I glanced up, keeping my face neutral. "Everything okay?" She hesitated before forcing a tight smile. "Yeah, just some work stuff. Want some wine?" She let out a breath, rubbing her forehead. "Actually, yeah, that'd be nice." I poured her a glass, watching as she took a long sip. She needed to calm her nerves. She had no idea the worst was yet to come. The next day, it was time to ruin her career. For years, Olivia had been the firm's golden girl, the rising star, the one bosses trusted. But trust is fragile, and once it's broken, it never fully recovers. I opened an anonymous email account and typed out a carefully worded message to her boss. No wild accusations, no angry rants. Just a simple nudge in the right direction. "There are whispers about Olivia Carter's inappropriate meetings with a competitor. I thought you want to know." Then I attached the same photos I sent to Roman. And just for good measure, I added one final line. "You might want to check who she's really loyal to." I hit send. Now, I just had to wait. That evening, when Olivia walked through the door, she looked tense. She dropped her purse onto the counter harder than usual, rubbing her temples. I took a sip of my drink. "Rough day." She exhaled. "Yeah, some bullshit at work. Someone's been spreading rumors about me." I raised an eyebrow. "Really? What kind of rumors?" She shook her head. "Nothing. It's stupid." I smiled. "I'm sure it'll blow over." Olivia let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Yeah, I hope so." She had no idea her life was already in free fall. And I was just getting started. Olivia's world was falling apart. She just didn't know that I was the one pulling the strings. For weeks, she had been untouchable, balancing her perfect image as the successful corporate woman, the loving wife, and the secret mistress. She thought she was in control. She thought she could play both sides and come out on top. But she was about to learn what it felt like when everything came crashing down. And the best part? She had no idea it was me. That morning, I watched her closely. She was distracted, checking her phone every few seconds, her fingers gripping her coffee cup a little too tightly. She barely looked at me. Something wrong? I asked casually. She blinked, snapping out of whatever was on her mind. Just work stress? I nodded. I'm sure it'll blow over. She hesitated before nodding quickly. Yeah, of course. She kissed my cheek and left. She still thought she had everything under control. She was wrong. By noon, the cracks in her carefully built life had turned into full-blown fractures. Olivia had always been respected at her firm. A rising star. Someone bosses trusted without hesitation. But trust is a fragile thing. And with the right whispers in the right ears, it disappears instantly. I had been that whisper. Her call came in the middle of the afternoon. I knew it was coming. I'm going to be late tonight, she said, her voice tense. I let the silence stretch. Why? A pause. Then, too quickly, meetings. Just some corporate bullshit. I smiled. She was already lying without thinking. She didn't even realize how obvious it was. I wasn't going to stop her. Not yet. That evening, when Olivia finally walked through the door, she looked shaken. She tossed her bag onto the counter, rubbing her temples. She didn't even meet my eyes. I took a sip of my drink. Long days? She exhaled sharply. Yeah. I studied her carefully. Something happened at work? She hesitated. Then, shaking her head, she forced a chuckle. Nothing serious. Just office politics. I tilted my head. You sure? She scoffed. Someone started a rumor about me. Said I've been meeting with competitors, leaking information. Can you believe that? I swirled my drink in my hand. Wow, that's serious. She laughed bitterly. Yeah, but they don't have proof. It'll go away. She didn't know it yet. It wouldn't go away. Meanwhile, Roman was falling apart too. The second anonymous email had done its job. He wasn't just questioning Olivia. He was panicking. I knew things had escalated when Olivia stomped into the bedroom and slammed the door behind her. A few moments later, I heard her voice. What the hell is wrong with you? A pause. Then lower, angrier. You're being paranoid, Roman. I smirked. Good. Let them destroy each other. Minutes later, she stormed back into the living room, jaw clenched, tension radiating off her in waves. I looked up from my drink. Everything okay? She hesitated, forcing a tight smile. Yeah, just work stuff. Liar. I took another slow sip. I'm sure it'll blow over. She didn't respond. Just walked past me, grabbed a bottle of wine, and poured herself a full glass before collapsing onto the couch. She was cracking, and I was enjoying every second of it. Olivia was about to lose everything. Her job, her reputation, the life she thought she had carefully built. And the best part? She had no idea that I was the one responsible for it all. Not yet, but she was about to find out. It started with an email. Olivia had been on edge at work for weeks. The rumors, the whispers, the concerns from her bosses. It had all been leading up to this. She had tried to keep her composure, acting like everything was fine. But today there would be no more pretending. Because today, the partners would receive something she wouldn't be able to talk her way out of. A collection of photos, hotel bookings, copies of deleted emails from an account she thought was hidden. Just enough evidence to make it clear. Olivia had compromised the firm's reputation. By noon, she would be unemployed. By evening, she would realize that I had destroyed her life from the inside out. At 5:32 p.m., she called. I let it ring. At 6:07 p.m., she was home. She threw her bag onto the floor, her entire body shaking. I got fired today, Ethan. I took a slow sip of my drink. Really? Her eyes widened. Don't do that. Don't act like you don't care. Someone sent them everything. They think I was leaking information. I leaned back in my chair. Were you? She inhaled sharply, her face turning pale. Of course not. You know I wouldn't. I smiled. Do I? Silence. The fear in her eyes was delicious. You're not even surprised. she whispered, her voice barely holding together. I stood up, setting my drink down. That's because I already knew, Olivia. Her lips parted slightly, her breath shallow. Well, what do you mean? I took a slow step toward her. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Did you really think I wouldn't notice? I chuckled, shaking my head. I knew weeks ago. Every lie. Every night with him. Every plan you made to leave me once you got what you wanted. Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan, Save it, I said coldly. We're past that now. She swallowed hard. I made a mistake. I laughed. A mistake? Olivia, dropping your phone in the sink is a mistake. Forgetting someone's birthday is a mistake. You made a choice. She wiped her eyes. We can fix this. I smiled. We are done. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a neatly folded document, tossing it onto the counter. She hesitated before picking it up. As she scanned the first few lines, her entire body tensed. Divorce papers. Filed. Processed. Finalized. You already? Yep, I said, grabbing my coat. And before you ask, no, you're not getting a cent. Her lips trembled. That's not possible. It is when you sign a prenup, I said, smirking. Remember that? The one you called, just a formality? She looked like she was about to faint. Ethan, please. I turned to leave. Oh, and about Roman? You might want to check in on him. She stiffened. I smiled. His firm just opened an investigation. Turns out, somebody reported inappropriate client relationships. Sounds serious. Olivia gasped, hands flying to her mouth. I opened the door, then paused. I wonder what it's like, I mused, to watch everything you built burn to the ground. She didn't respond. She couldn't. I gave her one last, victorious look, and walked away. And I never looked back.